Hi there, good morning, and welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here today to do the last of the semifinals for the Battle of the Masterpiece albums. This is episode number 4. So technically speaking, because there's 4 episodes, it's actually a quarterfinal, if you really want to be technical about it. But then we would just skip right to the finals. There would be no semifinals. So I figured rather than being technical, I'll just go with what sounds better. It sounds like these are all semifinals. Whoever wins this is going to the finals. So that usually, to me, indicates semifinals. If you want to be technical about it, though, technically speaking, there are 4 rounds. So there is the quarterfinals. So anyways, now that we got that technical part out of the way, I've listened to the final 4 albums. Of course, I've listened to most of these albums multiple times. In fact, 3 of them come from that era where I would listen to albums, sometimes play an album 13 or 14 or even 15 times a day when I first got it. You know, case in point, the Ace Frehley album, the solo album, there was a period of time where I just listened to that a whole week, just nonstop, probably over 100 times. Like, that never happens nowadays because I just have too many albums and too much to do stuff like that. I'm grown up now, so I have to have a job. I have to take care of things other than what I want to do, you know. So a lot of these albums have had, I wouldn't say the first 3, I would say, yeah, in fact, actually all of them probably have had more than 1,000 listens in their history. So they're all very well heard and well represented. I know most of the stuff on all of them. But I did listen to them all again just in case my opinion changed. So I'm going to do what I always do for these battles, is I'm going to introduce the albums, and then I will talk about the albums, and then I'll give you my ranking. So the first album is the Kiss solo album by Ace Frehley. The second album, Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell, released in 1980. Rush's Fly By Night, released in 1975. And Paul Simon's Graceland, released in 1986. So 3 of these bands won their original battle. The other one came second because it was part of a 5 album battle, so I gave 2 albums a get through, mostly because I wanted it to be balanced 4 in each of the semifinals. So Graceland got that final slot as a second. So kind of an underdog here, but let's see where it goes. Okay, so we're going to talk about them in the order I have them piled here. So the first one will be Fly By Night, Rush's second album, first one featuring Neil Peart on the drums. This is a transitionary album. To be honest with you, most of Rush's early catalog are transitionary albums. This one is the beginning. So they've gone from that hard rock, kind of mainstream hard rock sound to, I'd say about a good quarter of the album is still like that. Then you've got more poppy themes going on here as well. And you've got the beginnings, really, of the progressive sounds with some of the songs as well. Side 1 is to me as a perfect side. Side 2, it has its moments where it's great, and then some moments are not so great. But overall, fantastic album. It's a masterpiece for me. It's been probably my second favorite Rush album for the past few decades, anyways. And now that Permanent Wave's out of the picture, it's the only album by Rush that's still left in this kind of tournament here. So we'll see how it does. Great album. Lots of wonderful stuff on here. Anthem, Bytor, and the Snow Dog, 2 of my favorite tracks, of course. Very progressive, both. But the other 2 songs that are in between them, Best I Can and Beneath, Between, Behind, these are hard rock and great tracks. I don't know how Geddy Lee was able to sing Beneath, Between, Behind, because the lyrics are so complex and so pushed together, like you get from a lot of early Genesis stuff as well. But he was able to do it. Fly By Night, Making Memories, very radio-friendly songs. I like both of them. They got a kind of a pop feel to them. They also have some kind of, they use some acoustic stuff here. giving it that almost folky flavor at times. I wouldn't say they're folky at all, but they do have that range of vocally folky flavor. And then you have Rivendell, which is a very quiet, melodic song. I would say it's kind of progressive in its lyrics, maybe not so much in its music. And then In the End, which is a kind of puts a end to it. So it's a longer song, but it's very melodic, kind of hard rock, unlike Best I Can and Beneath, Between, Behind, which are more faster paced songs. Yeah, fantastic album. Love it quite a bit. Next up, we get to Heaven and Hell from Black Sabbath. This is the album that introduced me to the band. Well, I did know I had heard Iron Man and Paranoid on the radio at times, but I hadn't pursued Black Sabbath in album form at this point. This was the first one, and I liked Ronnie James Dio almost immediately. This is a much heavier Black Sabbath than the predecessors. Heavier in the sense that it's more commercially sounding melodic metal, faster paced actually, I think, where the other stuff was more grindy and more of a bluesy feel to it at times too, and a lot of different sounds in the earlier Sabbath albums. This one, just straight ahead hard rock and heavy metal sound to it. So yeah, great album. The first 6 tracks on here I think are near perfection. Last 2 tracks kind of drop a bit. Lonely is the Word, which is the final track. I've never really warmed up to this song. In recent years, I've come to appreciate it more, but I've never really warmed up to it. Walk Away sounds very too commercial to me in some ways. The other songs, heavy, melodic, great vocals, great guitar soloing, catchy riffs, nice hooks. Of those songs, Neon Nights was probably my favorite initially, but quickly followed by Children of the Sea and Heaven and Hell, which I really liked. I never really kind of warmed up greatly to Lady Evil. I love the heavy bass line in it. I love Ronnie's voice in it, but it doesn't catch with me as well as those other three songs I've mentioned. Children of the Sea got that nice kind of haunting guitar part to the beginning. Heaven and Hell, very melodic, very repetitive, very metal sounding. The other side, Wishing Well and Die Young. Over the years, they've probably ended up being my 2 favorite songs. 2 of my favorite to sing anyways, Wishing Well and Die Young. Sing them regularly. I still like them a lot. Wishing Well probably was my favorite track on this album. Very, very much like Neon Nights. Pounding, heavy beat, catchy riff, pushing forward constantly. Maybe not as much as Neon Nights, but still very good. Die Young, of course, it's got its little interludes of build up and then absolutely crushes it. Yeah, so this is a great album too. Next up is Ace Frehley's solo. Well, Kiss is Ace Frehley's solo within the Kiss logo. So he did do other solos of his own making after, but this was the first one. This is a well put together album. It's got a good sound to it. The producer did an excellent job in arranging the sounds and putting the songs together. I think this is a kind of how would you put this? This is kind of shows what can happen with an average album with a good producer who can really make an album great. And this is a great album. I love it. The songs are memorable to me. The lyrics are, I like his lyrics. They all tell little bits of stories, which I like. And lots of great guitar riffing and fantastic drumming on this. And I think Ace's voice sounds really good on this too. I wasn't sure he was a great singer. I don't know that he's a great singer, but for this album, he did absolutely some great vocal parts here. And the songs, like I said, are very memorable. There's only a couple tracks on here I don't really care much for. Speeding Back to My Baby, I think it's kind of a strange track. Wiped Out, I like it, but it's almost like a takeoff of that 1950s song Wipeout, which it has that because of the drum and the guitar and everything. It just kind of reminds me of. It doesn't really sound like it, but just has that flavor to it. But there are some absolutely killer tracks on this album. Rip It Out, one of my favorite Kiss songs. One of my favorite Ace Frehley songs. Just absolutely killer. It may be my favorite Ace Frehley song, to be honest with you. Snowblind and Ozone, both very kind of drug-induced, almost acid rock songs in some ways. Very psychedelic in some ways as well. I love the effects that he uses on these two songs. They're two of the best cuts on the album. What's on Your Mind? This was a song a lot of people kind of thought was kind of hokey. I always liked it for some reason. I think it's a great vocal song to sing, so I love to sing it all the time. It's probably my favorite on here. New York Groove, of course, was the hit, kind of designed to be the hit. Very commercial sounding. It's a good for what it is. It's a great song. It's not one of my favorites on the album, but I don't mind it. And then the last track, or the last two tracks I really like, I'm in Need of Love. Got that kind of spacey feel to it too. It's almost a space rock feel to it. But with a more domestic sounding lyrical part to it. And then last but not least, Fractured Mirror. Very haunting. An emotionally charged song. No vocals to it. But the guitar riff is great. The kind of overall sad, kind of haunting feeling to it is just what makes this song great. I know he did some other Fractured songs on later albums, but this one is the first one. Fantastic. So this is a great album. I love it. And last but not least, Paul Simon. This is going to sound repetitive, but another great album here. This one's very different than the first three. The first three have a very heavy rock, hard rock, heavy metal sound to them at times. This one doesn't have any of that. It's much more folky sounding. It's much more tribal sounding. Lots of interesting kind of melodies. Some real catchy riffs. The vocals are great. The songs are well written and memorable, all of them. From Boy in the Bubble right through to Homeless, all great stuff. The last three songs, maybe not as great. I don't really care for them as much, but they're not terrible either. Of course, Diamonds on the Soles of His Shoes, very radio-friendly, well-known song. Gumboots is great. I know what I know. I say what I say. Yeah, very typical Simon, kind of quirky lyrical parts. I like it. Graceland, of course, but well-known, well-liked. Homeless has that kind of African tribalism sound to it, which is really kind of neat. Under African Sky, same kind of thing going on here as Homeless. Yeah, so this is a really strong album. This is the one I took with me to New Zealand. So I played it a lot on the way there and on the way back when I was on the plane, because I had it in cassette form, and that back then I had one of those Walkmans, so that's all I was listening to, because it was the only cassette that I brought. I only brought the one. I tend to be like that when I go on a trip. I just take an album I want to take with me that I know I'm going to listen to all the time. So that's my tale on all of those albums. Now I'm going to give you my ranking. I'm going to put them in the order that I like. Okay, so coming in fourth, and not because it's a bad album, but it's just not, to my opinion, not quite as good as the other ones, and that's Paul Simon's Graceland. I was kind of surprised that it got through to the finals. I thought it was a great album. Of course, it's a masterpiece for me, but I just didn't think it was up to that. But it did very well in the round that it was in, and I couldn't pass on it. I had to have it in here, so it's here. Paul Simon's Graceland, number 4. These next three are separated by probably less than a hair. I really had difficulty deciding which one to go third, because the third one was going to be beaten by 2, and I just found that hard to swallow, but I had to do it, so I decided on the Ace Frehley album for third. I think the problem, well, actually it's not even a problem. I think the reason that it came third is that The good songs on here are really good, and the songs I don't like, like Speeding Back to My Baby. Just a song I never really liked much, and New York Groove, I think, is overrated. So those kind of things kind of dragged it down just enough so that it would finish third, but it's still one of my favorite albums. We'll probably, when I do my list in a week or two, I'm going to do a top 25 favorite albums of all time. Now that I've done this, I can kind of go back through and see how these albums really place in my list. This one's still going to make the top 10 for sure. Next up, in second place, this was really tough because this album was a top 5 album for me for many years, but the other album I think just had a better tournament, I guess, if you want to call it that. So Heaven and Hell, that's really the only thing that separates them, because this has some absolutely fantastic stuff and some little weaker stuff. The same with the other album, has a little bit weaker stuff too, but I think for today I just like the other album just a tiny bit better. So Black Sabbath coming second, and the winner of this round is going to be Fly By Night. There isn't much about this album I don't like. I love the album cover. I love the sound of the music here. It's got good production. Neil Peart sounds fantastic on the drums. The guitar and bass are really strong on this. Bytor and the Snow Dog is as good a song as any of on all 4 of the albums. Anthem has that kind of odd sounding riff, but absolutely killer riff. Very memorable songs, all of them. Even the poppy ones, Fly By Night and Making Memories, which were among my favorite at one point in time. I still like them a lot. There just isn't any weekends here. Even Rivendell, I know a lot of people chastise on this song, but the lyrics are great. The song tells a bit of a story that they're connecting themselves to that realm, and I think it's not bad. In the end, it's probably the weakest track on the album for me, and it's still not even close to weak. So this is a great album. I've always thought that it was getting close to being my favorite Rush album. Now I'm not sure now, but I think it probably is now my favorite Rush album, and for a lot of good reasons. So Fly By Night will go on to the finals. So for those of you who are keeping track, the final 4 album will be Songs from the Wood from Jethro Tull, Styx's Equinox, and also Styx's Pieces of 8. They won the second and third rounds. And then today, Fly By Night win for Rush. So those will be your 4 finalists, which I will do next week. And it's been an enjoyable series to do, much more than I thought it was. I don't really like doing these kind of battle things, but it does help to really make you think a little bit harder about the albums than you probably have in the past. Anyways, so that's it for today's Battle of the Masterpiece albums, the final semi-final, number 4. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to make your comments in the comment section about any of the albums, you can do that, or any of the bands, you can do that. Or if you just want to rank them the way you see them, you can do that as well. I know for some people, some of these are absolutely stone cold classics, and for some people, some of them are absolutely shouldn't be on this list at all. That's just the way it is, right? People hear things differently. People have different opinions about stuff. People have emotional attachments to some albums that others don't have. I completely understand. So it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about how I feel about them today. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Next week we will be doing the finals for this, and I hope to see you all there. That'll be next Saturday at 12. And have yourself a good day, a good evening, and goodbye from Prog Monster.